the Iran International Farsi site, they're reporting that the US Treasury is issuing a 60-day license for the regime to produce, sell, and deliver oil until Friday, August 30th. It's also been reported that this is in exchange for the regime to reopen the strait and to allow nuclear inspectors back into the country. They're also allowed, apparently, they're also allowed to use their shadow fleet as well. So this is pretty interesting to read about this.
Who is reporting this?
Iran International. And also there's the post by Scott Bessent. So this is actually, I saw this being confirmed, apparently. JD Vance also said that the Islamic Republic has agreed to allow IAEA inspectors back inside Iran, which is, if it's true, is a huge deal. And Scott Bessent posted this under President Donald Trump and Vice President. We continue to make the world safer and more prosperous. In line with the ongoing productive talks in Switzerland, Iran has committed to free and open transit in the Strait of Hormuz and to permit International Atomic Energy Agency. Let me see the full post. This has only some of it. um, so inspectors into their country as part of the framework. As part of the framework, Treasury has issued a temporary 60-day general license authorizing the production, delivery, and sale of Iranian oil. So this is a sanctioned removal on the Islamic Republic approved by President Trump, Scott Bessent, and JD Vance. It's now in effect, apparently. So this is what I was. This is something that I was asking about, and apparently I was wrong about this because I thought any waivers on the sanctions should be approved by Congress. But now they're all announcing that nope, it's happening, and the Islamic Republic, because they agreed to the IAEA inspectors to come in, they already. It's not just a blockade removal; they are actually getting a general license to basically sell their oil without sanctions. So basically, not just to China at the discounted price, but basically without the sanctions in the free market, and also their petrochemical products as well. So this has been announced. So yeah. So Noah, what do you think about this? You want it before we go to other people responding to this?
Yeah, I think it's pretty damning. I mean, the fact that the regime has all, I can't tell if it's all sanctions lifted or if it's just on oil. Um, but it's still pretty ridiculous. Um, and apparently, I remember during the JCPOA, the Treasury does have the authority um, to lift sanctions, but it's not permanent. So, like that's why President Trump was able to reimpose sanctions and leave the JCPOA back then because of that. But if I remember correctly, it's not, only Congress can fully lift the sanctions, but they can do it temporarily, if I remember correctly.
So JD Vance also confirmed this, saying the Islamic Republic of Iran has agreed to allow IAEA inspectors back into the country, a step towards permanently ending its nuclear weapons program. U.S. Vice President JD Vance said on Monday, following the following summit in Switzerland. Um, Let me actually unpin you now that you close your camera. Vance said. Vance said the talks, which brought together officials from the United States, Iran, Qatar, and Pakistan, also established coordination mechanisms to keep the Strait of Hormuz open and to the de-conflict the regional ceasefire. So one thing also that I could tell you is that they're saying that the Islamic Republic's walkout from the meeting was fake. So President Trump posted something that angered the Islamic Republic people, and they said like, "Okay, we're going to stop talking," and they walked out of the negotiations. But they're saying that was a fake walkout, and in response to President Trump's threats. And then after the walkouts, they went and continued the talk behind the scenes, anyways. And apparently, they made so much progress. Apparently, they're saying that the Islamic Republic agreed the IAEA will go back. So this is basically very much like the JCPOA kind of, if this is what they want to go with. So this all better be fake until the midterms, buying time, because this is giving me JCP Obama deal vibes. I don't know what you guys think. Is there any twos in the chat? This, I hope this is
Yes.
like the whole buying time for until the midterms ends up being true, because if it's not, this is worse than the Obama deal. But go on.
All right. Next, we have Jeff on this Jose on this topic. I'm sorry, Jose. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Sorry about that earlier, Armin. I had my mic on and I didn't realize it. But no, there's only one problem with Congress touching it. It's not a treaty. They have no authority over it. Until it's sent to them as a treaty, they can't say shit. And that's the basic of it. So, and they haven't had any luck on the War Powers Act. So, whatever. I don't know if this is going to be like the JOCOA as much as I still see it as it's going to fail one way or the other, because they're still saying that they're blockading the strait. You saw that, you played a video of that one soldier, IRGC soldier, stating what they're willing to fight, back us up, get on the streets, do this and do that. So the division is still there.
All right. I would like to comment that that guy might just not want to go to his wife. Like, no, let's keep the fight. I want to stay at the beach. Don't send me home. I'm just joking a little bit there. But next on this topic, we have Jeff.
Sketch a funny guy. Just two quick points of observation. Well, three. One, I would contend the midterms is a secondary issue. Again, the main issue is critical munitions, basing, all this other stuff that's operationally kind of in origins. The other one is, so here's the difference between the current deal and the JCPOA. So in the JCPOA, no targets were killed, and the JCPOA was floated in a far more accommodating geopolitical and geostrategic environment, meaning that we didn't have to do the JCPOA. It would have been easier to bomb them and take out the regime then than it is now, vis-a-vis the deconcentration of power that has occurred thanks to a lot of fucked up policies from Democrat administrations and or assisted by some libertarian elements in Congress. The current deal killed over 21,000 targets, and we have to juggle more operational issues due to the nature of the geopolitical and geostrategic environment. In other words, you have Putin getting ready to hit the Baltic states, China getting ready to hit Taiwan. Obama didn't have to do the JCPOA, right? He chose to do it when he had far more free hand to not do that. Whereas today, President Trump did his operational pause because it had to be done due to other geopolitical and geostrategic challenges, while still having. So, in other words, Donald hit the Mullah regime when it was far less of a permissive environment, which also kind of shows just how great the threat was that the regime posed and its remnants still pose, and two, how much Donald loves the Iranian people and our Israeli allies. We struck the Mullah regime and used things that is going to have an impact in other areas. Obama could have did that when there was no impact. There's a lot of difference between those two things. As far as like what it means operationally for the regime, remnants, that's why, again, it's very critical that those other lines of effort are pursued, not the least of which is recognizing His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi and the transitionary government as the official government in exile, because that streamlines a lot of other things, so that so we can very much undermine the ability of the regime remnants to try and skimp stuff off the top to reconstitute their capability. And that's, of course, if we don't go back to military operations, which, if they keep fucking with Donald, that's a good possibility.
All right, close us out on this topic. We have Armin and then Super Chats.
Okay, so I was wrong about the need of Congress for sanctions removal. So this is why I was confused. I was saying, like, how could President Trump come out, like, how could the MOU promise sanction removal at the front without saying behavior from the Islamic Republic, especially given that the White House cannot just do sanction removal for the Islamic Republic. They need Congress approval. That's what I thought they need. And now I looked into it and I was wrong about this. The president doesn't need Congress for a temporary pause. So the executive branch can act alone using two tools: built in waivers. Congress usually includes national security waivers in its laws, allowing the president to temporarily suspend sanctions. So that's one. And two, there's executive orders. Most specific US sanctions were created by presidential executive order, not by Congress. The president can unilaterally pause what they created. Congress can only stop it by passing a new veto-proof law to strip the president of this waiver power. So apparently, the president can remove these sanctions. Unfortunately, my opinion. Okay, let me do 4 super chats. We got 4. Thank you, guys. Texas Tucker Jeff saying, "Hey there, yo, Hossein Dorka," and his profile picture is me with the Shia, bandana and everything, and sunglasses and everything. So Shia headgear with me, and so he's saying it on my behalf. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Hey there, yo, Hossein, back at you. And then we got a fleshy interloper saying, "More buying, nothing but Islamic Republic lies." Yep. And thank you for the super chat. And then we have Kelly. Thank you so much for the super chat. Kelly saying they never allowed the inspectors into all the facilities. They never did. And that's why every time some idiot tells you that the Islamic Republic was abiding by the JCPOA, tell them that they're an idiot. That's fucking bullshit. They were not. They were basically like, yes, they were abiding by the JCPOA in those specific areas, in the few specific areas that the JCPOA had access to, but they were doing other things in other parts of Iran. And then Ehef with the super chat saying, I get two more left, saying, Ehef, thank you so much for the super chat, saying some of it could be optics. They expect it to fail, and when it does, they go to everyone else and say, we tried, gonna go grow a spine now. So that might be true. However, they're getting money now, so that's the issue with that. They are getting, the Islamic Republic is now they're selling billions and billions of dollars worth of oil right now. They were so desperate, they had their backs to the wall, and they were ready to accept anything. So the United States had them cornered, and now all of a sudden they're getting billions of dollars. So some people are saying, let me actually read this for you. Actually, now that's the issue a lot of people are having, is this. All right, let me just read this quickly. Iran has exported approximately 36 million barrels of crude oil since June 15, according to maritime intelligence firm Tanker Trackers, underscoring the rapid return of oil shipments following the partial easing of restrictions on Iranian exports. So they didn't waste a second to take advantage of the removal of the restrictions. Like, that is a lot of oil that they just got out immediately and sold. So that's going to go to, that's a lot of money that is going to go to, I don't know, arming Hezbollah to shoot at Israelis. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. But again, um, it, a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, Armin, this is bad. But again, if the Democrats win during the midterms, it will be worse. So we gotta do what we gotta do. So that's what some people are saying. And then some other people respond to us like, yep, yep, keep coping, keep doing your 5D chess nonsense. Every time we want to criticize, you're gonna come up with a long-term optics 5D chess plan excuse. So I'm presenting both sides of this argument for you guys. Yeah? I want to just present them both to you guys there, so you guys could see what was happening, and you could make up your mind and yourself. And then we have Justin with another super chat. Thank you so much, Justin, saying something I've learned almost always, if not always, the simplest answer to a question is the correct answer. Yeah, that's called Occam's razor. And then you continue saying, find out the simplest answer to the question, what Trump's doing, and you find the answer. Well, here's the thing, Justin. Here's the problem with Occam's razor sometimes. Sometimes it's not easy to figure out what's the simplest answer. Because for you to figure out the simplest answer, you have to be able to calculate the possibility of every answer. And sometimes calculating the possibility of this every answer is difficult because not only you don't know you don't have all the information, you also don't have the information that you don't know that you need to know to be able to calculate. So it's the known knowns and the unknown. It's the known unknowns and it's the unknown unknowns. So it would, but that is true. The simplest explanation is usually the most plausible. It's the most plausible one. But how do you calculate the simplicity of each answer if you don't have all the information? And thank you, Justin, for that pointing that out. And Justin is agreeing, saying true, Armin. Yeah. Okay. All right. What's the next topic?
Yes, the next topic is from Halda, and it's on the increased regime presence. Go ahead.
So
Okay.
before Haldo says something, I just want to clarify something, guys. Saying something is the most simple, it doesn't mean it's simple. Something could be extremely complicated. Most simple doesn't mean something is simple. Saying most simple, it means that it has the least number of assumptions you need to take for an answer to be the most simple, and it could still be extremely complicated, but compared to other answers, the least complicated because you have to make lesser assumptions for them. Sorry, Halda, go ahead.
That's okay. I'm just becoming, increasingly concerned about, what we're seeing with, American politics, obviously, and this supposed ceasefire, which I'm starting to really question. I'm really curious about funds, going into the regime. And I mean, you already touched a bit on that already, but in Iran, or Iran's international, sorry, trying to talk and type at the same time, there's an article showing that the morality police vehicles have already been deployed again. Granted, we're only talking about 2 cities so far, but it seems to me like this is an indication that they're trying to increase, their reach again, and trying to get things back to, their idea of normal, referring to the Islamic regime and the IRGC, of course. And I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
First of all, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for paying attention to that, and thank you for bringing that up. I do really appreciate the fact that you guys are paying attention. It's, I don't know. It means a lot to us. I mean, never in my life have I seen so many people who are not Iranian are paying, like they're saying, oh, the morality police is being brought back in Iran. That level of attention to the details within Iran. Um, thank you. And yes, you're right. They are doing that. My guess for why that is happening is to appease the anti-deal people, right? The anti-deal people are thinking that holy shit, we've lost the Islamic Republic. This is everything, like this country is not Islamic anymore. The supreme leader is being kidnapped, held hostage. were bending the knees to the Americans and to the Zionists. Um, and hijabless girls are like for years these are the same people who are anti-deal within the Islamic Republic are the same people who already thought that the Islamic Republic is falling because women are walking hijabless inside Iran. So the main complaints that these people have, there are four things that the pro-regime jihadi minded pro-regime Iranians have an issue with the Islamic Republic, right? Four issues. First is too many women walking around without hijab without any meaningful enforcement, which basically means that this is not an Islamic country because God's law is not being enforced. Not enough execution on anti-regime Iranians. For example, after the Mahsa revolution, these people were expecting executions in the thousands, and they're like, why are we getting executions like 10, 20? Like they're definitely way more people who are anti-regime. Why are like the low execution numbers is something that they are upset about often. Um, and then the two remaining ones is a pathetic weak response against Israel and pathetic weak responses against the United States. So these are their main issues, right? So given that the MOU and the negotiations is making these people really angry with number 3 and number 4 issues, so maybe the regime is like, let's give them something to be happy about. Let's bring in the morality police and give them put out some videos of get some videos circulating on social media that we're being tough on hijabless women to make these people happy. That's what I'm thinking is that's what's happening. What do you think, Alda, in response to that?
I think that that's an interesting conclusion, and it does make sense. Um, of course, I think all of us are just concerned in general, that this is an indication of returning back to life as normal, and I'm certainly hoping not. But I do think, though, that they've got to somehow sell the reputation to each other, and to the public. So yeah, I could see your position here. Thanks.
Mm.
I appreciate you taking the time to explain it.
And now that I think about it, yesterday we talked about the singer, that lady Parestu, forgot her last name. She's getting 74 lashes. I don't know if you guys watched us on her show. That there was this woman who came out with a 30-minute video, with her musical video, a beautiful, beautiful musical video, right after the Master Revolution, to an empty audience, and she sang, without hijab and everything, and she and her crew now. So this has been, how many years has it been? This has been 4 years. 4 years ago. Yeah, did y'all in the chat saying yes? Or I mean, that's fucking enraged me. Yes. So 4 years ago, right after the Master Revolution, she came up with that song. She had a concert with no audience, and she put the video out there. And for 4 years, they didn't get a sentence, right? And now they finally got their sentence. Her and everybody in her crew is gonna get 74 lashes. Um, if I remember, it was, yeah, Parastu Ahmadi. Thank you, Nilbani. So now that you mentioned this, Halda, I was wondering. Now actually not wondering. I actually know this now, because the Islamic Republic, whenever people do something against the regime, they arrest the people and they don't punish them right away. They keep them for when messages need to be sent either to anti-regime Iranians or to the pro-regime Iranians. So you might be going into the streets and protest, and they take you, they arrest you, they might give you a death sentence, and then they don't execute you. You might even have a death sentence and they don't execute you because they hold you for the proper time. So for example, if they fear an uprising, they bring the people out. They're like, okay, let's put some executions to scare people not to do an uprising. The people that they put them, like, they keep them in their back pocket for executions, right? It's crazy. um so either the executions and the torture go up, either if they feel an uprising is coming and they need to remind people that they can still bite and that they're scary, or if they think that the pro-regime people are pissed and angry and they need to show that this is still Islamic land, the Islamic law is still being enforced, then the people they execute. And so for example, we outside of Iran, we go around and say like, oh no, look at this, let's embarrass the regime, let's bring awareness to the fact that Parastu Ahmadi is being lashed. And we like sometimes we think like, oh, that's going to be bad for the regime. And it is bad for the regime because of the external pressures that brings to them. But it's also true that the regime wants that message to be spread, because the only reason why they're doing it is for people, is either for the pro anti-regime people to get scared, or for the pro-regime people to be to see that, okay, and yeah, at least she's getting what she's deserved. At least, okay, at least that woman who dared come out and defy Islam like that, okay, like that made them, at least I could feel a little bit better that she's getting what she deserves. Like as a way to reduce the rage that these people are having. But I saw you put another two. Halda, you wanted to say something else?
I just had a really quick question regarding that, based on what you just said. So if we're seeing the morality police coming back out into the streets, what are your thoughts of potential increased executions of both protesters and potentially dissidents?
A lot, but here's the thing that the regime has to calculate. The regime has realized that executions don't make Iranians short term, makes Iranians, retreat, but longer term, the piled up anger actually increases the size of the next uprising, right? So they are constantly like doing calculation and analysis, and some leak data shows that they actually have a lot more sophisticated data and understanding of how their actions influences people. So they're dealing with a lot of complicated calculations. They're short term. If they think like a uprising is happening, they do executions to short term reduction in this possibility. But they also know that we know that they know that the executions actually longer term increases the chances of an uprising. It doesn't decrease it. It does. And also, there's another thing interesting is that more and more pro regime people realize that sometimes the morality police, when they come out, it's limited and it doesn't actually have that much of an impact. So they get frustrated because they're like, okay, you just went and arrested 4 people and made sure that the videos get out there to go viral so that you could fool us. But I was just out in, I don't know, Vanak, and everybody is hijabless. So you guys like let's say that the regime is fooling us with just 4 or 5 arrests, and they feel pissed that the regime is basically trying to make them feel like Islamic law is being enforced, even though it was very limited arrest. So there's also that.
All right. On this, I'd like to say, I remember that you said Golibov was saying, and we don't have the money. We don't have the money to pay anyone. I don't know if these people get paid in rice bags or whatever they get paid in, if they get a little of something for their trouble here. But this is one of the reasons that I hope the MOU is broken and the blockade comes back, because that would mean that they would have less money to do these kind of, let's say it's just propaganda. They'd have less money for that. Let's say it does get widespread and they are out there finding excuses to crack down. In either of those cases, I do hope that they keep being as crazy and dirty as they are, that they do break that MOU and it doesn't even need to reach another week. And it goes back, not, listen, maybe if it doesn't go back to military operations, but at least back to a blockade, I would appreciate that. And this is one of the reasons, because they're not going to stop, and the less money they have, the better. So on this, my thoughts are, we have some other tools that we'll speak soon. On this, my thoughts are, this is one of the reasons we have to be very, very careful that this MOU is followed to the letter. I doubt if we make sure that it is enforced correctly, it will last more than a week or 2 weeks, and if the blockade comes back. I'm a little upset that anything has been paid at all, but these are my thoughts on this. I know that the president's mad because he has no money. I know that they use the money to get their enforcers out there. So with that, we're gonna move on to some twos. I believe Noah also had a word on this. Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just remember seeing a video today in Qom about of an Iranian woman being harassed by pro-regime supporters, saying we're going to contact the police because you're not wearing an hijab or face head covering, basically. So I find it outrageous that they're doing this again. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, they're done with using them. They needed them. The hijabless women were very useful during the time. I mean, I don't know. By the way, I don't know if they're done with using them. I think there's different segments. Some people are like, yes, let's bring this hijabless girls into our religious ceremony so we could like do some propaganda. And then there are other parts of the Islamic Republic supporters who are like, what the fuck is this? Why are we allowing this? So I think but I think the people who are saying that let's do this, let's use them for propaganda, they have the upper hand during wartime, and the people who are saying like, what the fuck, this isn't Islam, we're not enforcing Islamic law, they have more of an upper hand in stable times.
We did also see the lady from Saw. Remember that? Oh my God,
Yeah.
the one with all the plastic surgery. It was
Oh my
kind of
God.
terrible.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was disgusting.
I don't have any more replies. I don't know how about if you would have to like to add to the last reply. This is why many of us are against the MOU. I just hope it fails quick and goes back to a lockdown.
You and me both, but I'm starting to become more and more concerned that it won't, simply because of American politics. But at this point, we can just wait and see. But I appreciate everybody taking the time to answer my questions.
Thank you.
Hey, to it.
We appreciate you bringing in this topic. It was an important topic.
And it's a pleasure to be of service. I say this to Armin a lot. It's a pleasure to be of service. It's a pleasure to be of service to all of you. You know, servicemen leave to serve. It's our greatest pleasure is being useful. So thank you all. I'm going to move on to the last topic we have of the day here. It's by Amy, and we're talking about the Haydar Parade. I didn't even know they had a Haydar Parade in New York City.
I do have a super chat before we go to Amy, just really quickly. Your Shadow is giving us a super chat, but before I read the super chat, what is that profile picture? I look good. That's me in a suit. And it looks good. Holy shit. I'm gonna, this has motivated me to wear a suit now. I look good in this profile picture. That's great. Okay. Okay, so your Shadow, thank you so much for the super chat saying, sending some love, appreciate to the maximum to the host, the school community, and most the chat over here too. Javid Shah. Okay, so appreciation to everybody, including me, including people in the school community, and all the people on the YouTube chat. Very nice, very sweet, from a very much more handsome than me, Armin Navabi, in the profile picture. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go buy a suit. What the hell? I haven't worn a suit for such a long time, but now I am convinced. Thank you.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.